All right, today we are diving into the brand new FlightScope Mevo Gen 2. This is a golf launch monitor that's making some serious waves in the simulator world. It's promising top-tier performance, but at a price that almost seems too good to be true. So, does it actually deliver? Let's get into it. You know, the buzz around this thing is no joke. People are already calling it maybe the best budget option ever. So in this explainer, we're gonna dig through the data from a really thorough deep dive review to figure out if that's true. And when we say budget, here's what we're talking about. The Mevo Gen 2 clocks in at just under $1,200. Now to put that in perspective, its older brother, the Mevo Plus, costs more than double that. So this new device, it's playing in a whole different league when it comes to price. Okay, let's get right to the most important question for any launch monitor, right? Is it accurate? Can you actually trust the numbers it's spitting out? Well, the answer from all the testing is a huge, resounding yes. The core ball data, how the ball's flying, how far it's going, it was found to be just as good as the Mevo Plus. And that right there, that is a massive deal for a device at this price. And this is where it gets kinda nuts. When you actually stack it up against the big boys, the review found that the Mevo Gen 2's carry yardage numbers are 98 to 99% as accurate as the professional-grade units that cost over $15,000. You're getting basically the exact same ball flight data for a tiny fraction of the price. Now, the testing did uncover this one weird thing with wedges. They seem to fly a little farther than on other simulators. But what's fascinating is that those longer distances were actually a better match for what you'd see out on a real golf course. It turns out indoor mats can add extra spin and shorten wedge shots, and the Mevo Gen 2 seems to be smart enough to account for that. Okay, but it's not perfect. There is one pretty significant blind spot, and it all comes down to something called gear effect, especially when you're hitting your driver. So what on earth is gear effect? Well, to put it simply, think about your driver. If you hit the ball way out on the toe, it naturally puts a little bit of draw spin on the ball. And if you hit it on the heel, it puts fade spin on it. This happens automatically, no matter what your swing path is doing. And here's where the problem comes in. The Mevo Gen 2 is amazing at reading your club path and your face angle to predict the shot. But on a really bad mishit with the driver, it doesn't pick up on that extra spin from gear effect. So you might hit one way off the toe that in real life would draw back to the fairway, but the simulator just reading path and face might show it as a slice.
Okay, so we've established it's super accurate with that one little exception, but what else are you getting for your money? What's actually in the box?
And let me tell you, this thing comes packed. Right out of the box, you get 8 free simulated golf courses, 18 different data points to analyze, detailed software, and FlightScope's really cool fusion tracking tech, which uses both radar and a camera to get better readings. It's a seriously impressive list of features. And here's a huge quality of life upgrade: the battery. The Gen 2 doubles the life of the Mevo Plus, going from a kinda short 3 hours all the way up to 6. That means you can get through a long practice session or a full round with your buddies without having to run out and buy an extra battery pack. Now, this might be the most crucial point of all. Unlike so many of its competitors that trap you with a low price and then hit you with hundreds of dollars in yearly fees, FlightScope has no required subscriptions. That price you see up front, that's the real price, which is just a massive win for its long-term value. So, this all leads to the big, obvious question, right? If the ball data is just as accurate and the battery life is better, why would anyone on Earth still pay more than double for the Mevo Plus? Well, the answer boils down to one key difference. The Mevo Plus has an optional Pro package add-on that gives you incredibly detailed data about your club. The Mevo Gen 2 doesn't have that option. That's the trade-off. And believe me, that Pro package is powerful. The review shared this story about a buddy who was in a slump for over a month. They put him on the Mevo Plus, and with that Pro data, they could instantly see his club path, his face angle, and where he was hitting it on the face. They figured out the problem and fixed it on the spot, something you just can't do without that deep dive data. But let's be absolutely crystal clear here. The Pro package is a diagnostic tool. It's for figuring out why the ball flew the way it did. Not having it on the Gen 2 doesn't make your simulated shots any less accurate. You just don't get that deeper layer of swing analysis. So after laying all that out, the incredible accuracy, the great features, and that one key trade-off, what's the final verdict on the Mevo Gen 2? It really just comes down to a pretty simple choice. If you're a swing tinkerer, a low handicapper, or maybe an instructor who needs to diagnose swing flaws in an instant, then yeah, the Mevo Plus with that Pro package is probably the tool for you. But for pretty much everyone else who just wants a super accurate and reliable simulator experience, the Mevo Gen 2 is the obvious winner. And when you put it all together, the picture becomes really clear. The story of this device is just dominated by its amazing ball flight accuracy and its incredible value. The features are great, and its one main weakness, that gear effect issue, is a pretty minor thing for the vast majority of us. Which really just leaves us with one final, kind of mind-blowing question. According to the review, for any golfer with a handicap of 5 or higher, the experience you get is so good that it's almost impossible to tell the difference between this and a $15,000 professional setup. And if that's true, this might not just be a great product, it might be a genuine revolution for home golf.